You may check somebody's breath and declare them dead, but they can still feel sensations. There's a whole school of Udaan in China where you might have seen those movies where they have mastery over Udana, where they can float around a little bit. There are yogic practices to activate this. If jnana recedes, even when you're alive, body will begin to rot. There are certain types of snake venoms which can do this. This is the reason why in this culture you have rituals running up to 14 days.
Sadhguru, you said about life. And that brings a big question, what doctors have about life. Now they say we have 1 trillion cells in our body. And each of these cells is living by it. And when you say a patient is no more, it's just that the brain dies after 2 or 3 minutes, but still a large part of his body is still alive.
That has changed now. Doctors are saying the brain lives for over 10 hours. Today, the new…
So he is dead, but the brain is living. His skin, his muscles, his bones live for many hours. So we have said he is dead, but a large part of his body is still alive. So, and these cells, even when after the patient is dead, you take these cells and…
Those of you who are all shaving every day, even after you're dead, we still have to shave you, you know this.
Yeah, the hair grows.
That is why I'm ready, you know. Now, you asked why if somebody is dead, still some of the cells are active. It has been recorded up to 10 hours, there is a lot of activity, and actually the brain goes into a certain level of activity and produces certain very surprising elements in 10 hours after somebody is medically dead. As I said, dead bodies are given a shave up to 10–11 days. Why this is so? What we're calling as life physically is a mechanism on many different levels. There is hardware and there is software. You are core of hardware, bones. The software is equally important. Otherwise, how would a cell know that it's a human cell? That it is not a pig cell or a tree cell or something else? How does it know? Because there is an entire software, there is memory, evolutionary memory, genetic memory, karmic memory, there are varieties of memories imposed on every cell in the system so that it never gets confused. If you eat dog food for 3 days, you will not become a dog, isn't it? Because the memory is entrenched in this. So there is a whole software. The software package is actually bigger than the hardware, much bigger. And it is energized by what we are considering as a life force. In yoga, we call this prana. It manifests itself in 5 basic dimensions. There are other forms to it, which gets too complicated. 5 basic forms. These are called pranavayu, samanavayu, apanavayu, udanavayu and vyana. These have different functions. Prana is related to breath, respiratory action and thought process. If the pranavayu depletes, your respiratory action will go away. So immediately doctor checks and says, he's dead. They'll try to pump their chest. If it doesn't come back, he's dead. Respiration and your pulmonary action are very directly connected. Once respiration stops, that process will naturally come to an end. So pranavayu is gone. It's not like one after another they will go. They will go at the same time, but one goes means this is gone. If samanavayu goes, this is in charge of generating heat in the system. So once samanavayu starts receding, the body starts getting cold and it also starts becoming stiff. Once apanavayu starts receding in a major way, then the sensory aspect of it We must understand this. You may check somebody's breath and declare them dead, but they can still feel sensations. There have been any number of cases where people get terrified because a dead body moves a little bit. This has happened again and again, many times. That when he's been medically declared dead, there are twitchings in the body that happen in a very mild way because the sensory activity is still on. Still, life is not fully convinced that it's finished. It is still making an effort of its own. When Udhana Vayu goes away, then the buoyancy is gone. When I say buoyancy, see, you may weigh 70 or 80 or whatever number of… I'm sorry, maybe you weigh 50 or 55 kilograms, whatever is your weight, you don't… let's say you're very happy and alive right now, you don't feel 50 kilograms on you, isn't it? Hello? It is there. If you stand on the scale, it is there. But when you walk, it is not there, simply because this udhana creates a buoyancy. It makes you less available to gravity. There are yogic practices to activate this. There's a whole school of Udan in China, where you might have seen those movies, Hollywood movies, what is that? Crouching Tiger, something. What? Yes. So these are Udan schools where they have mastery over Udana, where they can float around a little bit. Well, little exaggerated in the movies, but becomes lighter, more buoyant body. For a martial arts fighter, to be buoyant is important. There have been many cases where certain ballet dancers and martial arts experts have shown what is physically not possible they have done by leaping up to heights which all physicists believe is simply impossible. But they've gone beyond that level simply by creating more buoyancy. So Udhana is in charge of buoyancy. Once Udhana starts receding, suddenly body becomes heavy. Always it was the same weight. Weight does not increase, but you can feel the weight much more simply because Udhana is gone. This doctors may know, maybe doctors don't do it, the people who work in the hospitals may know, carrying a live person and a dead person, there's a big difference. Simply because Udhana is gone, there's no buoyancy. The fourth dimension is called Vyana. This is preservative in nature. If Vyana recedes, even when you're alive, body will begin to rot. There are certain types of snake venoms which can do this. If they bite you, you will not die, but literally parts of the body will start falling apart simply because Vyana will recede and it will start falling apart. So, once Vyana recedes, the rotting process will begin. There are systems in yoga where we want all the seven to go reasonably together, within 1.5 hours we want it to go. In normal death, depending upon the age of a person, how vibrant a particular body is, it may take a long time. When I say long time, up to 14 hours it may take. Vyana may take up to 14 days to leave. This is the reason why in this culture you have rituals running up to 14 days, because they feel the Vyana may be still there, because when you bury a person, the Vyana may be still hovering there, so up to 14 days. That is the reason why within 1.5 hours, in this culture that was the rule, if somebody dies within an hour and a half, you must cremate them. But then mistakes happened. When they were still alive, somebody put them on the funeral pyre, so they stretched it to 4 hours. Within 4 hours, you must cremate. But today, there are issues, all kinds of issues about it. So, people are waiting for 1 day, 2 days, daughter is in America, she has to come, she'll come after 3 days, and they will wait. But the idea is, for the one who is dead, we must understand this. You don't diagnose people as dead, you declare them dead, right? There's a difference. So when you declare them dead, for you they are dead. As far as that person is concerned, in a way, all that's happened is, he's disembodied. lost his body. All his life he lived thinking he's a body, never realizing the physical mass that we carry is an accumulation from this planet. He never realized that. When suddenly he slips out the body, he tends to hover around the body because he's lost his discriminatory intelligence. Once you leave the body, the discriminatory intellect is not there, so this tends to hover around that body. So in this culture we said, the moment we are sure that somebody is dead for sure, you must immediately cremate them. Because it's good for that dead, so they know the game is up. And it's also good for the living. You will see, if somebody very dear to you is dead and their body is here, you keep on hallucinating, maybe they're just sleeping, maybe they will sit up, maybe some miracle will happen, maybe something else will happen, this will go on unnecessarily. You will see people are crying and big emotional drama is happening, but the moment you cremate them, you will see everybody become silent. Have you noticed this? Always. Because now everybody knows the game is up. It's for the living and for the dead. So about life leaving the system, it is so entrenched. It is not something, poop, it'll go away like this. In stages, it goes away. Because it's in stages, it came in. It's in stages, it'll go. Inclusiveness is not an idea, inclusiveness is not a philosophy, inclusiveness is not a campaign that you run. It has to happen in individual experience. We must understand the words like society, nation, tribe, this, that, these are just words. There are only human beings. There are only individual human beings. Unless it happens in our experience, it is not a reality. To bring this dimension into education process, to bring this sense of inclusiveness into the economic process, to bring this dimension as a living process into our spiritual dimensions. If this does not happen, we will go on dividing the world because right now we are using only one aspect of our intelligence, which is called as intellect, because the nature of the intellect is such, it is a knife. You cannot use it to stitch things together. If you stitch with a knife, you will leave everything in tatters. The more effort we make in this direction, the more destructive we will become. We need to touch deeper dimensions of our intelligence, which is naturally unifying. This does not need any belief, this does not need a philosophy. There are practical methods with which one can dig little deeper into one's intelligence, which is not divisive, which is not about cutting and dissecting, which is naturally unifying, because life is not happening from different sources, it is happening from a fundamental source, which is the very basis of creation everywhere. From the same planet, every kind of life has risen and every kind of life falls back without any effort. This is a clear demonstration that it is happening this way. It is just that because we have become too intellectual, everything is divided. For the sake of study, initially we divide things. After some time, we believe that's how it is. In the very nature of things, this is not the way life works. The nature of life is such, without inclusiveness, there is no possibility. If one does not understand what I'm talking about, keep your mouth closed and hold your nose and become totally exclusive. You will see in 2 minutes, this will be gone. It is only with some sense of inclusiveness it's happening, but the question is, are you conscious about it or not? If you bring or come to inclusiveness in a conscious manner, it will find expression in the world. Otherwise, it will be used only for survival process. Survival cannot happen without inclusiveness. Blossoming of the human being definitely cannot happen without inclusiveness. Our education systems have to focus on this, at least to start with. Every child before they become 10 years of age, they must be acquainted with the many cultures on this planet. that many nations represent. Every child should be acquainted with at least the few fundamentals of the 5 basic or major religions on the planet. If we bring these aspects into every child's life, we can see that in the next 20-25 years' time, we are much more inclusive. Maybe, I'm dreaming a little bit, maybe in another 50 years, as we say, this year is 70 years of India's independence. Maybe in another 50 years, we can start talking about independence of the world, that it got released from these boundaries and became one. Not necessarily one administration, one this thing, but we can think of this because today we've come to a place where at least you cannot control the citizenry within the borders of a nation. Even if you build walls, they will communicate through the Facebook and the Twitter and whatever else and the social media and variety of ways. You cannot separate human beings anymore. When this is happening on the social level, it is only a question of time that it needs to happen politically and in administrative terms. Above all, at least 50% of the education on this planet must be common. That means it must be global education, another 50% can be of that nationality and culture, but at least 50% must be globally prescribed, which is common education. When I say common education, it is not about putting everybody into one box. It is just the orientation of the education can be fixed in a certain way. Content can be worked at in many different ways. If we do not start working on this right now, the way we are empowered as human beings, we are empowered like never before. With this kind of empowerment, division is dangerous. One small little nation can destroy the entire world. We can bomb the world, we can tag every human being, we can drone kill you, we can do all kinds of things to you. So it's not far away that somebody will start using such things unless we breed inclusiveness into every child. We have to bring this into our children's minds. If this has to come into their experience, we have to live that way, there is no other way. Let's make this happen.
Look, I have to congratulate you. You made it through a deep, unfiltered video. That takes attention, openness, and courage. So leave your city in the comments or share a quote that stuck with you. If you feel this could help someone, send it their way. Thank you, Big Hug, and until next time.